Welcome to the Debate a Wall Show. I'm Isaac Edelman.
And I'm Ryan Gans.
Today we will be doing PTI and debating against each other and not just the wall. So let's first start off with the MLB. Ryan, who do you think's the best player in the MLB?
I think the best player in the MLB by quite a bit has to be Jacob deGrom. I mean, pitching is arguably the most important part of baseball. It's impossible to do anything without a good pitcher, and Jacob deGrom is arguably having the best season of all time for a pitcher. He is pitching a 0.5 ERA with 117 strikeouts, only 7 runs and 3 home runs allowed in 72 innings. He's having a dominant year, and I think you can't win games without pitching, and the Mets are at the top of their division all because of deGrom.
Well, I know the Angels may not be as good as the Mets, but Mike Trout is better than Jacob deGrom. Look, Mike Trout has always been atop everyone's rankings for many years, longer than deGrom, but that doesn't matter. But what matters is Mike Trout's skill. Mike Trout is a way better player than deGrom. Obviously, they are different players. Mike Trout is an outfielder, Jacob deGrom's a pitcher, but Mike Trout hits tons of home runs each year, and he has a high average each year, high OPS, high slugging percentage, and many other cool stats. But guess what? Look, what matters is making an impact. Obviously, it's hard to compare outfielders to pitchers. I just think Mike Trout is better.
You know, that's fair enough. I mean, Mike Trout is a dominant player, one of the best of our generation. But when you're talking current, you have to go Jacob deGrom. Mike Trout has been injured, and even when he's healthy, his team cannot perform. Jacob deGrom is basically single-handedly carrying his team. Even when he isn't playing, the impact of Jacob deGrom is clearly there, just as a leader. Mike Trout is not healthy this year, and Shohei Ohtani is outperforming even when he was healthy. Now, I'm not saying Shohei Ohtani is better than Mike Trout because that would be a reach, but Mike Trout is reaching the level of not the best player in his team. Not yet, but it's potential that he could reach that level. Jacob deGrom always has and always will be the best player in his team. He's a 2-time Cy Young Award winner, 3-time All-Star, and he's having one of the greatest seasons of all time. I'm taking an elite pitcher over a guy who can't stay healthy, and I'd rather be at the top of the division than the bottom.
Again, I'm still going to have to disagree, Ryan. I think injuries don't matter. I think he's still a better player. But anyway, let's move on to the NBA. Who do you think is the best player in the NBA?
You know, it's a really difficult decision on who's the best NBA player. I mean, you have guys like Kevin Durant, LeBron, Giannis, but I think you have to go with Steph Curry. He had arguably the greatest season of all time without winning the MVP award. It's definitely up there between 08 Chris Paul, 09 D Wade, and now 2021 Curry. I think he just dominated, and if it wasn't for Curry, the Warriors would most likely have won like 8 games. That offense and that team in general was atrocious. Andrew Wiggins was decent, Draymond Green was good, but for the most part they had hot trash. James Wiseman was one of the worst rookies of the entire draft class this year, and he was taken number 2. Steph Curry had carried his team to the promised land. He was unstoppable. He hit shots that were unimaginable, and he was right on for MVP, and he didn't even make the playoffs. That's how good he was. He was so good that without even making the playoffs, he was still considered for MVP. I think you have to give it to Curry.
I think the best NBA player is Kevin Durant. I've never seen such a player that can shoot anywhere on the floor. Obviously, he is taller than Steph Curry, so you'd expect him to be able to dunk. But Kevin Durant can shoot anywhere. 3-point lands, free throw line, and, of course, inside the paint. And that makes him a better player than Steph Curry, and especially after his performance in the playoffs without Kyrie Irving and with an injured player in James Harden. Guess what? Kevin Durant stepped up. I've never seen such a good playoff performance as Durant. And that's why I think Durant is way better than Steph Curry.
I mean, yeah, Kevin Durant had one of the best playoff runs we've seen in a long time, without a doubt. But the fact of the matter is, Steph Curry had outperformed Kevin Durant in every category. And even when you get to the playoffs, Kevin Durant simply, I mean, you look at the Nets game, he choked. Sure, he hit that amazing shot, but he was an inch away from sending his team to the Eastern Conference Finals, and he choked. And sure, he was gassed, but even when he was gassed, he couldn't do anything. And I mean, even look on the defensive side. Curry is not an amazing defender, but he is definitely a better defender than Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is nearly 7 feet tall. I think while Kevin Durant's amazing, Steph Curry has shown time and time again he can carry a team. He is arguably the best player, or he is the best shooter of all time. He's arguably the greatest point guard of all time, and he's probably top 10 at this point. Kevin Durant cannot reach that level, and Steph Curry's prime is still ongoing. Kevin Durant's reaching the end. I think you have to give it to Curry just because Curry is simply unstoppable.
Well, if he's unstoppable, why could the Grizzlies stop him?
I mean, you have to look at the team around him. Like, if you're comparing what Kevin Durant had and what even John Morant had compared to Steph Curry's second best player was Draymond Green on 1 foot and Andrew Wiggins. When was the last time Andrew Wiggins was a genuinely good player? I think you have to give it to Curry no matter what team he had.
Okay, thanks so much, Ryan. That's going to do it. I was your host, Isaac Edelman.
And I was Ryan Gans.